Hello, and welcome to the second of our Pick a Money in the Bank winner from a hat video. Today, we're talking about the women's Money in the Bank contract. And cards on the table, this was a lot harder to do than the men. This field is wide open, so that's a good thing, I guess. For this one though, I've tried to see what the logical winners would do, and how they would do it based on the breadcrumbs. The very few breadcrumbs that WWE leaves the women's division anyway, but whatever. And do my best to predict the likely and also the most interesting winner of the Money in the Bank contract from the women's division. Giulia is the latest Japanese export to Brave signing for WWE, and the question is, will she go the route of Asuka and Io, or a Kushida for example, not making much impact? I think the former. Stylistically, her technical, more grounded style and offense are comparable with a Kushida more than an Asuka, Io or even a Shinsuke Nakamura, who are much more adept with audience-pleasing, heavy-hitting arsenal of moves. But this girl has charisma to burn, and that is going to take her a long way even before the bell rings, which, by the way, when it does, she delivers on a Mercedes Moné style offense built on suplex heavy moves with submission and grounding designed to wear the opponents down, and that will set her aside from an Asuka or an Io. She has been popping up on Raw recently, and her recent pinfall loss to Rhea Ripley probably says that she's less likely to win the briefcase than others. But WWE clearly has high hopes for her, and although winning the briefcase now might be considered too early, strapping that rocket to her now would garner eyes to her in a big way. And as she recently has been portraying a heel persona, and with both champions at present being babyface, it wouldn't shock me for the beautiful madness to win the briefcase and cash in on one of them, especially Io interestingly. Much like Giulia, Roxanne has been on Monday Night Raw every week since WrestleMania. But unlike Giulia, Roxanne's promotion to the main roster has been a long time coming. She has been in developmental since before NXT 2.0 was a thing, and was one of the standout stars of NXT ever since. WWE clearly like her a lot, and she delivers every single time the bell rings for a match. Tiffany Stratton was on the main roster for approximately 6 months, give or take, before she won the briefcase, and I can see a similar trajectory for Roxanne as well. And much like Tiffany, Roxanne can deliver good matches as a standard, is fresh-faced, and is one that the company can build its women's division around for the next decade or so. The field for Money in the Bank this year is wide open, so why not give it to someone you want to tell fans is a big deal? Just ask Booker T. Well, we flip-flop between Raquel and Liv Morgan, the current tag team champions. And while Liv is away shooting a movie, Raquel is just sitting in the Judgment Day clubhouse doing not a lot. Her story in NXT was almost exactly the same, an enforcer to Dakota Kai, and realised that her own might and potential was just, and broke free of Bodyguard to become NXT champion, and a damn good one at that. A similar story is here to be told with Liv Morgan if they should wish. Now, Raquel has had some health complaints over the last year or so, and we're very glad that she seems to be in a better place with it now. And if anyone has seen an interview with her outside of the wrestling ring in normal mode, she's so likeable. And when she won the NXT title as a babyface, this was proven, and if WWE play it right, we'll create a massive megastar if they do it. In the meantime, we know that Triple H loves her a lot, and is a convincing champion in her own right, and so a definite contender for the briefcase, and it would not surprise me if she wasn't involved in the match come June 7th. So, the last year has been a frustrating one for any fans of Bayley, myself included in that group. She won the title at WrestleMania 40 in an awesome match with Io Sky, becoming the babyface Bayley in the process that we hadn't seen since 2019. However, what followed was a bit of a tepid run with that title, not of her own doing mind, and not her fault, but she just sort of lost it to Nia without much of a reign at all. A massive shame. She's since just been portrayed as friend of all the babyfaces, a friend to Bianca, a friend to Naomi, a friend to Lyra, and then came that moment on WrestleMania weekend. I mean, we don't like griping for griping's sake, but unless she was injured, did it have to go down that way? Why book her in the match at all if that was the plan? I'm sure more will come out over the coming months and years about that moment, but needless to say, it made Bayley look a little bit silly. Hopefully she will get some measure of revenge against Becky and gain back some credibility as well. And what better way to start that than with the Money in the Bank briefcase? She has won it before, yes, but with both champions, Tiffany and Io, possessing ready-made stories with Bayley and a potential cash-in, this would help to build back our Bayley to some level of prominence. Let's hope. We love you, Bayley. Now, if you want a winner to annoy the audience, here she is. Charlotte Flair, undoubtedly one of the best female performers of all time. Her resume speaks for itself, but that is part of the problem, her resume. She is a 14-time world champion and someone who's received almost comical title reign lengths at times during the old regime of WWE to get to 14. To put it in context, she has double the amount of reigns than anyone in history, and she's been on main roster for 10 years. That is John Cena level booking from back in the day, and it's part of the reason why she's so resented by the fan base when she wins now. Let's face facts. She doesn't need the win. She doesn't need the briefcase. Charlotte can deservedly call her shot like any of the men do. I'm a dynasty. I want a title shot. Whether that's fair or not, Randy Orton just did that against John Cena. However, her winning a Royal Rumble and a Money in the Bank in the same calendar year would be bold, let's say. Especially after the reaction her Rumble win did receive. But perhaps WWE can twist that to their benefit, with her winning the briefcase and declaring when she will cash it in like a certain John Cena did all those years ago, perhaps against Tiffany. And then she loses again. She says she needs to recalibrate, refocus her efforts, and soul search, and in that comes a full year of Charlotte wrestling match after match in story after story that doesn't feature the title, and allow her to be again endorsed, respected, and most importantly, liked again by the fan base. The assumption clearly was that she would come back to a Triple H level 2002 reception, but WWE didn't do anything near the level of work to make her sympathetic to the plight that she suffered during that time. And that's just it. Time is what's needed here. If they want to make her sympathetic again, which clearly there was a movement to do so, and make her interesting for the fan base, suffering and earning it all over again is the way to go. If they want it, of course. The Storm is here and has made no bones about calling her shot after WrestleMania. She wants gold. It's hard to determine just what the crowd makes of Jade thus far, but she looks amazing. All of the Storm inspired look and outfits are awesome, but her ability to connect with the crowd may not be. Just such like Charlotte Flair, there is this otherworldly superstar quality to Jade, which means her being liked is always going to be a challenge WWE needs to overcome if she's to make the kind of impact that they would want. And there is an element that Jade is already looking past WWE, as she's talked of wanting to get into acting as soon as she possibly can, which is interesting. Anyway, back to her pursuit for gold. As Tiffany is currently the SmackDown champion, it remains to be seen if that ends up being the match that happens, especially since Jade would not be the fan favourite during that match. But would winning the Money in the Bank match help elevate her up that card and the perception in people's eyes as a threat? Yes. She hasn't featured in many conversations pertaining to the world title yet, but her winning and a delayed cash-in where Jade wrestles a lot against decent opponents and smashes it every single time against perhaps a Charlotte Flair has been teased, would help to this end. In other words, she's a star and I can absolutely picture her winning it in June 7th, and that's why she's on this list. A bit of an outside pick here for sure, and one that I didn't think many people are talking about, but hear me out. Kairi is a great in-ring competitor, and since she's returned has mostly been background support for a Bayley, Dakota, Asuka or an Io within Damage Control. However, Anyone who can remember back to the NXT days will remember how likeable and how great her matches were, the pirate thing aside. But Kairi has what Asuka has, what Io has, what Peak Shinsuke has, likability. And WWE has never tapped into that on the main roster. Her frame and her demeanour would have you write her off as simply someone who would make up the numbers, but if anyone has sought out more of her work from outside WWE, she can be a relentlessly evil heel with a death stare that could make you wet your pants. And, as seen in NXT, can be a ridiculously likeable underdog champion if you want to root for her. If she can keep her injuries away, which may be her biggest hindrance at this point, then there is certainly money to be made in Kairi. And with Io currently as the champion, and Kairi possessing history with a lot of the main roster, I guess this has turned into a bit of a plea for her, but also one that can reap dividends. A bit of fantasy booking now. I would have her win the briefcase, doing some crazy stunts during that match, with a shock cash in on Io in the same night in the most dastardly heel way, and have her go from there. Chelsea Green is a star. Fact. End of. Next superstar on the list. Okay. Chelsea love aside, this woman is so damn likeable and is supremely over with the fan base, despite being the butt of most jokes, not the best wrestler on the roster by her own admission, and not booked particularly strong either. But this is her asset. Chelsea once said that she would love to go down in history as the female version of The Miz. Most critics would balk at that comparison, but she embraces it. And why? Because you remember The Miz. Regardless of your feelings towards him, he is constantly employed on TV and involved in things. And Chelsea knows that. I would argue that she has more to offer than The Miz personally as well, with many of her comic antics, for example, far more funny and far more engaging than anything he did. Her year has consisted of her being crowned the first ever United States champion. She has her own faction, the Secret Service, and her endless displays of creativity, instincts and character work have made her segments on TV a must watch. No joke, we look forward to watching whatever Chelsea is up to every single week on SmackDown because she is so entertaining. And that's what she is, entertaining. She rather meekly and surprisingly dropped the United States title just after forming a faction and doing a wonderful job with her President Chelsea gimmick, which leads me to think that maybe something larger is in the offing for her. She is a perfect candidate for the briefcase, and a cash in on Tiffany would be perfect for her character as well, which is a narcissistic cheating heel with help. Therefore, transporting the United States champion gimmick Chelsea had to world champion Chelsea makes all the sense in the world for June the 7th. Although I see they've taken away her "It's Chelsea Green" away again. That's annoying. Bianca is currently out of action with what seems like a broken finger or two from that epic match with Io and Rhea at WrestleMania 41. However, I wonder whether that was a smokescreen to take her out of a few things which she was involved with in order to have her come back fresher in the fans' eyes. Her recent entanglements on Raw and SmackDown over the last few months made blending certain stories a little bit messy for the viewer, but ultimately the match she was in delivered, so who the hell cares, right? Well, she was involved in a very personal story with Naomi and Jade, arguably the best built story going into WrestleMania 41. And although Jade won that match at Mania, there's more mileage in that story, I feel. Naomi is currently doing an excellent job as a fresh heel, but her story began and started with Bianca needing a new partner. And although they seem to wrap up that level of Bianca's involvement in the story, it still felt underdeveloped, although both women absolutely killed it with their performances that night. And Bianca returning, winning Money in the Bank, and cashing in on a freshly crowned Jade Cargill, perhaps? Maybe even revealing her to be the mastermind behind her fateful push onto that car in the first place? There is potential there. Aside from that, Bianca Belair is amazing. A constant delight to watch in the ring. Genuinely believe that there isn't anything she can't do, even acting now after that performance with Naomi. And that dream match that fans have booked of Jade versus Bianca having a meat and a weight behind it in the form of a story, it could do wonders for Jade, as well as give something to Bianca, the mostly babyface winningest champion during her run in the main roster, something else to do. Anyone who remembers her in NXT will attest, her as a heel was something special. And she doesn't have to change much at all, just her attitude. Naomi is great. Since her return in 2024, she's been mostly retreading old ground as a standard, incredibly likeable, yes, but underwhelmingly booked babyface. See Bayley for similar comments. Friend to this person, etc, etc. But then came that heel turn in March, and when Jade exploded into that chamber and pummeled Naomi, taking her out of the match, it did more for Naomi than it ever did for Jade. It gave her an opportunity that she relished, and so far would be my pick for best character of 2025. Her game has elevated. Her acting alone during that Bianca confrontation would be enough to shower her with praise, but every week consistently since, her promo work has been brilliant, loud, brash, and with a cackle laugh not seen since a Disney villain. Naomi has always been impressive in the ring, and people forget just how long she's been around the scene. She was one of the total divas after all. But she has always remained a good, if not steady, reliable hand to the company, to insert whenever they needed to get somebody else over. Now is her time to shine as a star, and this run is the time to do it. Money in the Bank coming around now is perfect timing, and WWE needs to strike while the iron is hot on this character and make her the cackling, maniacal top heel of the blue brand with a cash in on either Tiffy or Jade. That would be interesting to have her lead the division for the next year or so. Good work should always be rewarded, and what better way to reward Naomi than to give her this opportunity. And that's our list. Did you agree or disagree with any of our choices? Please let us know in the comment section below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.